This research is motivated by the growth in atypical forms of employment, including those associated with the so-called gig economy. It's ultimately about the quality of jobs and how ethnicity patterns the way in which people find themselves in different types of employment. What our research sets out to do is to look also at the differences in access to good jobs between ethnicities. So, what is a good job? Well, let's think about what a good job isn't. A good job isn't low paid, it isn't insecure, it provides enough hours of work to give a good income, and if it involves being self-employed, then that's not through being unable to find anything better. Bad jobs here include things like low pay, involuntary part-time work, and temporary contracts, which in turn includes zero-hour contracts. Around 80% of white British workers are in good jobs, compared to around 72% of ethnic minority workers from a Pakistani or Bangladeshi background, and around 78% from a black background. The picture is particularly bad for women from ethnic minority groups. Recent work found that 4.5% of women workers from a BME background were on zero-hours contracts, compared to 2.5% of white men. One of the reasons that this is important right now is that the COVID pandemic has had serious implications for the economy and the labour market. Unemployment rose for everyone, but proportionally more for those from ethnic minority backgrounds and for young people. Our research suggests that not only does unemployment rise, but the quality of jobs on offer falls too, and that the likelihood of being in a good job falls more for ethnic minority workers than it does for white British workers.
I'm an actor and a rap artist, Name is Gambit Ace.
And I'm here for the love of the art. I mean for the love of the craft. Okay, I wasn't there right from the start. The late 80s when I attended the club.
I'm from London, Streatham Hill, South. Originally I'm from Wiltshire, West Country. A little town called Trowbridge. It's not that far from Bath. Bath, Swindon, Devizes, yeah. And I was born there. I was born in Trowbridge.
My name is Amanda Headley and I am a chef here in London.
Hi, my name is Ivan. Been self-employed for a lot of years backwards, working first on the parcel industry as a motor job, and for the last 5 years working as a private car driver in London.
Hi, I'm P. I'm a single mother of one. I live in Leeds and I'm a carer.
I'm professionally trained to do the acting stuff, which I've gone to drama school and got a degree in. I'm professionally trained in music as a rap artist. And I'm also, you can say, professionally trained at being a sales assistant. I've done that for many years with many different companies, and at cleaning as well.
I've worked as a construction project manager for over 10 years of my life. And so being a chef for me was a career change into following a passion and just wanting to be happy and knowing that there's more to life than just existing.
COVID had a massive impact on work-wise on the downside, especially the first year when the work went down more than 50%, a really, really sharp drop. And you can notice it. I was hoping the other way when this situation started, that people are gonna on the side of the health and safety, and for them to be safe, not to meet people in the public transport, so they're gonna use more the taxi. But it didn't. That was surprised me a lot. That surprised me a lot. It went onto the opposite direction. I lose a lot. We lose a lot. I'm talking about as a private car. We lose a lot. No, the work, as I said, less than 50%. But we still have to pay. I still have to pay the finance for the car. I still have to pay the insurance.
As a carer, because of the pandemic and because of the virus, a lot of the service users, their families, decided that they didn't want the carers to come into their homes because, you know, what are you bringing into my house? Do you carry the virus? They're vulnerable. So they had to protect their family members. So it meant that some of us were out of work. So now it meant that I had to now go looking for work, night shifts, basically. And that was at the bakery. And oh my God, That was so hard, but I mean, you don't really have an option. You have to do it. It was just really hard. You did get some agencies that would be able to give you a shift pattern between 10 to 2, but then because there's a lot more mothers that had also stopped working, it meant that there weren't many vacancies that could fill that spot. So you had no option. Well, I had no option than to go and do the night shift.
One of my jobs I had been working there for 10 years, nearly 10 years. And I remember the night that Boris announced the first essential lockdown. I remember feeling, is this going to be my last shift here? Which actually was the last shift. Because what happened was with the company, they were an independent company, that they were based in Croydon. What happened was when the Prime Minister decided essential shops could open, this company were like a beauty parlor kind of place I was cleaning, but the space was too tight. So, you know, the social distancing, there wasn't enough space. So that's why they couldn't reopen. And that was half of the reason why they just had to shut down. And that job was my main income. So it was a major problem for me because I was like, well, what do I do now? So I resorted to, you know, looking for something else like most people did. And it took a long time, like a good 3 or 4 months, trying for jobs, interviews, not getting replies back. And then eventually I've got the job that I'm working at now. This job is a cleaning job. This is working in a leisure centre.
During the pandemic, at the beginning, actually, I was working in a hotel restaurant. And prior to the government even announcing the furlough scheme, they would have just started literally cutting staff left, right, and center. And so I was in like the second batch of persons to go because they were doing it on a last in, first out basis. So after I was relieved of that job, the government announced furlough, and I was not eligible anymore for furlough because I would have been relieved of my duties prior to that. So I was stuck home with no job. Obviously, I still have bills to pay. I had to take a job due to the pandemic because I have responsibilities, and also I was struggling mentally being stuck inside all the time. So the pandemic did not allow me to practice my normal career as a chef because of everything being closed. And so therefore I had to take a job doing something different. I took the job as a delivery person because I knew it would give me both of those.
I try a friend which I used to work before on the parcel deliveries, and I probably when he needed, because on that site, on the parcel delivery, they went down on work as well. So I was going probably 1 day a week.
Whilst the rates of unemployment nationally may not have hit the heights which were potentially expected when predictions were made at the start of the pandemic, unfortunately, Edmonton has been hit disproportionately hard, and unemployment has more than doubled since March 2020. What is coming to the attention of my office about the impact of the gig economy on the lives and experiences of people during COVID and since COVID feel in most cases they don't have a choice. Of course, there are a few job openings and opportunities at the height of the pandemic, but unfortunately, the majority of those jobs meant that people worked up to 60 hours a week with very, very few opportunities to have a break. And at times, what I was being told is that they weren't even being paid on time. So obviously, yes, there were job opportunities, but the job opportunities were not good enough. And often the gig economy really just amounted to Deliveroo, which meant they were delivering food for people who were at home. But I was being told by unions that were supporting these workers that they weren't being treated fairly.
It is 0-hour contract. It is when they have shifts available. So if that week they don't have any shift available, but it was £9 an hour. And even though you're there 8 hours, you only get paid 7.5 because your break time doesn't count.
The online presence came along, and I think that's what helped me. I think that's what kind of saved me, to be honest, because you can be creative. Just having a computer, a laptop, mobile phone, it got me in a zone of, all right, cool, let's create something out of nothing. As an actor and a rap artist, it was like, okay, so what can I do? And I started thinking, brainstorming some ideas, and that took me out of the, let's say, the slump.
I felt like I couldn't really spend time with my daughter. It was just draining me emotionally. It was just too much. There was times where I'll just cry because I'm tired. Like, I don't want to do night shift, but I've got no choice. So I feel like it had a negative impact. And even though it was really tough, and even though my partner left, and even though I thought I couldn't do it, I did it. I survived. And even though it was really messing me up mentally, I still pushed and pulled through.
Of the future, honestly, I'm taking each day as it comes and making the most of it while doing the best to stay safe. And yeah, I can't predict the future. After the last 2 years, I just have to live my life. I can't think too far ahead, because I really don't want to look forward to something and then be disappointed. And so for that matter, I'm just taking each day as it comes.
There were days that I was sitting in the car waiting for the fare. I was thinking, Jesus Lord, how are we gonna go? How are we gonna survive? What is gonna happen? I was worrying. My son, thank God, he had the work, so he was earning some. Otherwise, what are we going to do? I didn't really want to go on, and I was thinking for all these struggling people who are going for the food banks, and a massive increase on people demand for the food bank. And I was just praying, and I say, please, Lord, I don't go to that low level.
Many drivers and the union have approached me to ask me to make representation, because simply, let me put it like this, it's cruel and inhumane, the process that absolutely makes workers have no rights. And many workers have precarious jobs, and on top of that, they have precarious home office, status. So they're not in a position to really push forward to say, okay, I'll leave this job, I'll go and get another job. They're limited in the option. MP is going to make representation on behalf of their constituents. But I've written on their behalf to Uber and asked them, why is it that you are suddenly terminating someone's contract based on hearsay? So that's one of the first things that we need to be doing as MPs. But the government needs to look at, why is it structurally a big issue that so many people that live in very poor areas are being forced into working in this environment? Drivers who have been supported, the union is around the table, the government gets it right. We're less likely to have algorithms which discriminate against Black and Asian workers. We're more likely to have people being paid the right salary because it's a win-win. And more importantly, we will not have these people who are living in squalor and living below the poverty line. And that needs to be spoken up about.
At least 3 major government-sponsored reports filled with recommendations have been produced over the last 30 years. And there has been some progress in reducing employment and pay disparities. But our research shows, particularly in relation to the quality of work, that serious disadvantage remains for some ethnic groups, and that this can't be explained by their qualifications or where they live. Flexible labour markets, the gig economy, these things offer benefits to consumers, to firms, and to some workers for whom the ability to pick and choose shifts is a positive advantage. But the research we've done suggests that there's no level playing field, and that ethnicity can have an impact on the quality of job that people end up doing. And that surely can't be right.